Welcome to your Healing Place podcast with Linda and Mindy. It is our desire to address common concerns of how abortion and faith intersect in order to validate the emotional pain and grief that abortion can bring and give hope that recovery is possible. So we're back today, and we're going to talk about what healed and whole looks like after going through abortion recovery group. And hopefully it's to help you maybe identify areas of your life that still need to be healed, or that maybe I am, doing pretty good, because we enjoy seasons of walking in just complete freedom and healing. And then God, knowing if there's, that there's still something there, will allow something in our life to cross our path, and somebody will say something, or something will happen, or somebody from our past will enter into our life somehow, and for a brief moment or even for a time, and all of a sudden those feelings get triggered and all those things start bubbling up again. And that's when we can know, hey, something's not completely done here, and I thought it was. And so God is gracious like that, because while it's painful, we talked about that in a previous section, it's a necessary pain to produce a peacefulness and a righteousness in us where we can have complete confidence in Him. And so, what does healed and whole look like? Linda, you have been doing this so much longer than me, and I just love to hear your stories, maybe, or even in your own life, just how you know you're healed.
Well, first, I want to say that we're all in process.
Absolutely. That's so true.
God is working on all of us. So I don't know if I could ever get to a point where I'm said I'm fully healed until the precious, precious promise that someday we're going to stand before Him faultless.
That's so
I love
true.
that. I hang on to that all the time.
All this death and body is going to be gone. We're going to
It's going to
get a
be gone.
brand new body. I'm so
It's gonna
excited.
be
Can't
great.
wait.
It's all gonna be perfect. But that said, I think we can get to the point where you're talking about where we are at peace. Um, like the illustration I've used before, that the wound is now just a scar and it doesn't hurt to touch.
Right.
And I think that's a key component to knowing that God has that thing healed,
Mm-hmm.
is that when somebody when you hear the word abortion, when
Mm-hmm.
you hear the news broadcast that's talking about abortion, it may still make us sad,
Mm-hmm.
because it makes God's heart sad that we still live in a world where abortion is so prevalent and so strongly defended. But it doesn't hurt in a personal way
Mm-mm.
anymore when
Mm-mm.
that comes up. We're not catching our breath. Our heart
Yeah.
doesn't start racing.
Yeah.
Um, I think another component is that we're not hiding it. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to go out and tell the world. That
Right.
doesn't mean that you need
Right.
to do like I did and go on Focus on the Family and give your testimony to,
Right.
thousands and thousands
Or
of
like I
people.
did and go to the March for Life in DC and
Yeah,
broadcast
yeah.
it before
It doesn't
thousands. Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that you're
Right.
out there, but that you would be willing, if the Lord puts someone in your life, to speak about it. um,
Yes.
that
Yeah. I
that
think
you're not
also
it's not a thing of shame and hiding anymore. And there may even be
yeah.
people in your life that you haven't told for a good reason. There may
Mhm.
be circumstances where you haven't told, everybody, and that's okay too. But if the Lord says, "Hey, I want you to speak about this to this person," that there's a willingness there to do that.
Yeah. And you might even have apprehension, but there's still the willingness to obey that command. And
Mhm.
yeah, we can talk about sharing your story another time. There's so much to that. But like, I still, if I go to an urgent care and say it's the first time or it's been a long time and they're asking me to fill out all the forms, and I'm just going for the
Mm,
flu and they're asking me to put how many pregnancies on there, I'm not going to share that with them. But it's not because I'm ashamed. It's just they don't need to know. As far as I'm concerned, it's none of their business. It has nothing to do with what's going on today. So I don't share everything all the time. But I think your picture of the wound and the scar is so so true. And I can remember, and I probably talked about this when we talked about layers, but when I got married to my husband, we wanted to try and have children together, and for whatever reason we couldn't. We never did any tests to find out specifically, so I don't know if it was me or if it was him, but I do know that God wasn't allowing it through natural means. And that really that brought something up, and that touched that wound, and it hurt. And it
Mm,
wasn't like, touching the scar where I could be a witness. It touched the wound where it caused shame. It caused, all those old toxic kind of um, feelings that threaten to hurt you in a very deep sense of the word. And I did that point hadn't been through much healing. I had only gone through this group once and did not understand that there's layers, and, that I could need more healing to that, and didn't know where to go. So I pursued the Lord in his word for that.
mhm.
But yeah, or, I can remember, Linda, you and I were just recently at a conference doing a teaching on in front of abortion or in front of pregnancy center leaders. And I remember the one lady who said to us, somebody said something today. She said, I have abortion in my past. And she said, somebody said something at this conference, and it really triggered me. And I was really surprised by that emotion. So you can be working in ministry, helping defend life and those kinds of things, and still be triggered and still be hurt. So, as you said, we're still a work in progress. So,
Oh,
what does healed and whole look like? I think it's a process
mhm.
of getting there. And I think for a period of time, God will give us a season where we feel we're sitting and we're resting in the healing that we've received. And then there's going to be a period, if there's more, that He's going to reveal it to us. And it's usually going to hurt, but it's not meant to take us down. It's meant to build us up. It's meant to make us more whole. If we can allow that to come to the surface, deal with it, however He puts that on our heart to deal with, whether it's through His word or going through another group, and then scrape off that dross and then continue in that process. It's high heat and high pressure that bring things to the surface
Mhm.
and help us to understand the gunk that's still in there, that is not honoring to God, that doesn't reflect Him at all.
That's a good picture. That's purifying the gold. Yes, getting all
Yeah.
the impurities out. It does take time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think part of knowing that we're on the right track is when that pressure comes up, we know where to take it. We know
Mm-hmm.
to get into the word. We
Mm-hmm.
know the people we can go to, the
Mm-hmm.
church, the group, like you mentioned. We know the resources, and we reach out to surrender that thing to God again, and let Him go
Yeah.
deeper.
Yeah, the tools that will help us after we're out of the group, because we can't stay in our group forever, and we're not supposed to. We're supposed to move on, and grow and walk and live our lives. And so, getting those tools and knowing how to manage those things when they come. But sometimes they can hurt deeply. And if you're still avoiding the topic of abortion, if you're still not even able to say the word abortion, if
Mhm.
you are oh, something in my mind and I just forgot. I was trying to think of some things that would indicate that healing is still needed. Um, well, I just
Anger. I think anger sometimes,
anger.
if talking about if you find yourself very argumentative when the subject of abortion comes up, if there's a real anger reaction, that might be a clue.
Well, it could be anger at anything, because you could be angry
True.
at yourself and you could have a strong reaction to all kinds of things because you're still harboring anger at yourself.
Mm.
For those who were strongly pro-life and then they had an abortion, that that anger at yourself, it's a pride there that needs to be dealt with, but that anger will manifest itself out on things that have nothing to do with abortion. It'll start hurting everybody around them. So yeah, anger, lack of forgiving others, um, that kind of thing, avoiding people. And the secrecy issue, again, it's not about telling everybody your story, but secrecy and really letting God show you. Is that secrecy because um, it's just my personal business, or is that secrecy because of a deeper seed of shame that you're kind of not really acknowledging? Thank you for listening. This podcast was inspired by the many conversations had through the years with women struggling from the emotional pain associated with abortion. Thank you for allowing us into your healing journey. Subscribe on major platforms where podcasts can be heard. Learn more about virtual abortion recovery healing at www.anevenplace.com. The link is in the show notes.